Hey everybody, Wyoming James and Powder River Mandarin checking in from the Urban Micro Farm. Well, it is day 26, day 26, and Mandy's with us this morning, and she has decided that she is going to harvest some vegetables out of the garden here, so that we can take them out there to those birds that are on the pasture, just to kind of supplement them a little bit until we can get this fodder going. So I am gonna slip over here and check on our five little friends. Now, we were discussing, Andy and I have been discussing, because these birds are doing so well, we discussed maybe doing a swap, like maybe taking these 4 biggest ones and putting them out in the tractors and bringing the 4 smallest ones we can find and putting them back here. Actually, we'd bring 5 back, so that we have a total of 6 here again. So I don't know. We're discussing that. We haven't really determined whether or not we're going to do that yet, because these are doing just so well, and she's become attached to these. So, but I think we're going to do something. I don't know what. We got to mix it up here a little bit. But I'm going to feed these birds. Mandy's going to continue on over here with the vegetable harvest, and we will go out and check on those birds out there in the pasture. Stay tuned. All right, so we've made it out here to the pasture. We got out, started moving the chicken tractors around, and we moved the farthest east one. It went pretty well. Moved the center one. It went pretty well. And then we decided that we were gonna, because we were running out of room over here. There's a bank over here. There's like a dirt bank, and we were running out of room, so it was crowding us right up against the 2-track. So what's happened here is we took that far tractor across the 2-track onto that side of the road. In doing so, we were concerned about the birds. When it went over the dip in the 2-track, we were concerned about the birds flushing out. So we got kind of hasty. I got kind of hasty, and one of the birds got underneath the back in the rut of the road, and I squished him with the tractor. So I'll borrow this from Mandy real quick. And this little guy right here, he squawked about twice, and then he just kind of, when I pushed the tractor back off of him, he just kind of flopped over and laid there. So I'm sure he's hurt. I'm sure he's hurt real bad. But Mandy has decided that we're going to take him back to the Urban Micro Farm and kind of nurse him. So that's right up her alley. So I do feel really bad about that bird, but there's so many of them in there. I was trying to watch the birds that were trying to rush out, so I was trying to get over those ruts as quick as I could, and we got him in the fracas. So I do feel bad about that. That's horrible. But maybe we can nurse him back to health, keep him there in the Urban Micro Farm and in the garden, and get him well. So moving on. We'll keep you posted on that. But moving on, I had a comment yesterday. I received a comment yesterday on YouTube from a user named Falcon R56PA, and I really hope that PA means Pennsylvania, because some of my most dear friends are from Pennsylvania. So they asked if I would go into a little more detail about how we ended up with this pasture that we're on. In simple terms, outhouse luck is what it was. We were toying with the idea of having free-range chickens in chicken tractors, and so we started looking around. And we originally started looking around at like maybe places that we could lease long-term, or places that we could live on and then be able to pasture. And we weren't coming up with much. And then Mandy brought up the idea, well, what if we just leased something that we could just put the birds on? And in doing so, we were driving out CY Avenue here in Casper, and I saw a sign on CY Avenue that had some frontage, and I recognized the phone number. It says for lease, so I recognized the phone number. So I called up Rodney, and I've known him for a lot of years, and he owns a lot of ground out here on the west side of town. So I called up Rodney, and I said, hey Rodney, what do you got going over there? And he says, well, what do you want to do? You want to put a car lot in there? You want to put a boat store? What do you want to do, James? And I said, no, I'm wanting to do chickens. I want to know if that's in the county. He says, well, it's in the county. He says, but I don't know how well adapted it would be for chickens. So he says, you know what, I've got another place. I've got another couple of places. Why don't you go check them out? So first place we drove to was this land we're on here, and it's 75 acres of just beauty. It's right up against the mountain. There's that little pond and that creek that runs through it, and it has this road all the way in here, relatively flat, not a lot of brush along this little road right away. So I called him back up, kind of hat in hand, and I said, you know, Rodney, I said, that's really nice, but I don't know that we can afford it. And he says, well, are you raising eggs? And I said, no, we're just doing meat birds. And he says, well, how about I swap you some birds, some chickens for the use of that ground? And I said, that works just fine for me, Rodney. I said, are you sure? Yep. He's had some changes in his life that have kind of made him reevaluate some things, and he was just wanting to help me out, give me kind of a leg up. So thank you, Rodney. I don't know if you're watching. I don't know if you watch chicken videos on the YouTube or not, but thank you so much for that. So the deal is, and as I was talking to him, I told him, I said, hey, you know, I'm not really taking anything off the ground except for maybe some small sprouts and some bugs and things like that. I said, we're not rearranging your property. And he says, I'm not worried about that. And the other thing I told him is, I said, hey, when those chicken tractors move on, they're leaving more nutrients in the soil than what they took out. And he liked the idea of that. Now, there's no way we could have 10,000 chickens and still not put back what this little piece of ground out here needs to be, quote unquote, ag land. We're just making do. And that brings me to my next point. I'm not sure about everywhere else, but at least here in Casper, Wyoming, and other places in Wyoming, and even some places in Mandy's home, South Dakota, there are unused pieces of ground like this that are undeveloped, unused, that are just sitting there. Now, if you're doing something as low impact as this on there, you might be able to get in there for little or nothing. We got lucky. Rodney's letting us on here for just a few birds, and he's okay with that. But I think if you go out and visit with some of those people, you know, maybe you live in an apartment, maybe you live in an apartment in town. There are people with 5-6 acre tracts around here who don't grow anything, who don't farm anything, and they may be open to the idea of swapping out some poultry or some produce for allowing you to use their ground. So, and I think the thing that you need to keep in mind there when you're visiting with these people is, hey, listen, we're gonna leave this better than what we found it, just like we're doing. If we look back that way, there's a lot of nutrients put back in that soil that these birds have processed, and I hope we can still come back next spring when the grass is coming up, and I hope we can come back and video this and see the difference between what we didn't get on the tractors and what we did. I happen to believe that it's going to be a lot more lush, a lot more green, a lot more full, just because of the disturbance that these birds caused on the ground and then what they put back in the soil. So we're going to go home. We're going to nurse this little bird here, and we'll just keep you posted on it. We're going to go home and also probably put our fodder into the tray today. So look forward to doing that. I'm really excited about this fodder idea. Hopefully we can get it out here and start feeding it to these birds. So Wyoming James, Powder River Mandarin, and we're going to call him Wounded Bird. Wounded Bird, checking out from the Urban Micro Farm.